your microwave, your designer clothes, you would be living the life of the Amish. The Amish are a mysterious subculture that not many people know much about. When people hear Amish, they think of horse and buggies, bonnets, baked goods, and anti-electricity. But the Amish are much more than these things. They have practices, values that hold their communities together. The Amish practice collectivism, high power distance, and high context culture. The first culture value that the Amish practice is collectivism. Collectivism is a culture that focuses on the welfare of the family rather than individual needs. The Amish put their religion and God before themselves. They believe that God has an interest in their lives and communities, and that bonds them together. They are dedicated to God, that they all wear so much that they wear non-conforming, matching plain clothing because they choose faith over themselves. This shows that they do not care about individualism, since they don't express themselves individually through clothing. The Amish also show their dedication to God by not using electricity. They believe that life is just a step in their journey toward going to heaven, and that they shouldn't use material things to get too attached to this world. The Amish put their families and community before themselves as well. The Amish believe that having and raising children are a part of their destiny. They believe that if they have a strong family unit, they will be looked upon better by God. Divorce is an option in the Amish community. If someone gets a divorce, it can lead to excommunication. Families must stay together. Not only do the Amish practice collectivism, but they also practice high power distance. High power distance is when members of a group agree that power will be evenly distributed. The Amish has a hierarchy system in place to keep the community following the way of the Amish. The Amish answer to the elders. The elders tell them if they can own a cell phone or if they can have some sort of electricity in their house. This is usually only used if they own a business of some kind. The Amish are also ruled by a bishop, the minister, and the deacon. These guys are who keep the Amish in check regarding religion. The bishop is at the top of the hierarchy. The bishop maintains the church rules. The ministers are at the center of the hierarchy. The ministers head each church sermon, and they're the figureheads for children to look up to. The deacon is the lowest part of the hierarchy. The deacon maintains the spiritual well-being of the community. He does not read from the Bible like the minister, but is available for anyone who needs spiritual help. The third cultural value that the Amish practice is high context culture. High context culture is when communication is shared by one another through verbal cues more than oral cues. The Amish are non-confrontational people. Because they are non-confrontational, they tend to express themselves through body language rather than verbal cues. Men and women sit on opposite sides of the room during church service. This is an unspoken rule that is not necessarily for any specific reason other than they just know that's what's right. The Amish will burp at meals, showing that they enjoyed the meal. They don't communicate verbally that they enjoy the meal, they just burp. It's just a nonverbal cue that they have. The Amish will speak to people outside of their culture only if they need to. This usually happens only when they run a business. Besides that, they stick to their culture. Ansley S. Alacaster says, nonverbal communication speaks volumes for those in the Amish church because they are extremely non-confrontational, and their humanity does not allow them to be too outspoken. Simple messages with deep meaning flow freely. The Amish believe the word of God is what they should live by. They do not feel the need to clutter the air with their speech. They internalize their thoughts and their feelings most of the time. They do not usually have lengthy arguments like outsiders of the community world. They speak to God about their problems, not to other people. So in conclusion, as you can see, the Amish are a complex community. Their community is comprised of cultural values such as collectivism, high power distance, and high context power. Faith, family, community is what binds them together as a whole. The Lancaster County website reads, with our society's current interest in restoring family values, Much can be learned from studying the Amish way of life. Their devotion to family and community and their strong work ethic are the good examples for our society at large. So maybe we should take note of the Amish way of life and incorporate it into our own. Thank you.